Okay, I'm kind of skipping ahead here. I'm actually making a little video, making little short clips on this particular build for Buckin Billy. Uh, you guys have asked, well, what are you doing different with bucking saws than anybody else's? Nothing really. This is a different build though. I've not ever in any of bucking saws went anywhere near the work we're doing to this one. Um, Here you're just chasing them little bits and them little bits, okay? This is what this is, but they all add up. So, what we're doing today is matching the cases to the cylinder, and we'll show you the port work. On the transfers, I don't have my crank in yet. It's in the freezer. I'm putting ceramic bearings in this, the ceramic hybrids. Yeah, throw your crank in your freezer for a day. Pull it out real quick, drop your bearings on. They slide right down, boom. That's it. Just don't let them fall back off, just make sure they stay. It doesn't take very long for it to warm up enough where they grab right a hold. But we'll cover that when we're actually doing that. Okay, a problem that these saws actually have, and it's fine for a stock saw. These 371s, 372s run brilliantly stock. Just the XPs, not the X-Torque. So okay, what we're doing is you see this shelf right here. We're going to make that match from here to here. Okay. Now what we do is you actually take your Dremel or your grinder, whatever, and you remove the paint everywhere where you want JB Weld to be put. No, it doesn't fall back out. It works good here. Don't use it on your exhaust or the top of your cylinder. It'll burn right out. It won't work. But you can use it in your intakes and in your cases. So you see, that air has to come up over this, follow this shelf, and then come up the transfers. And I'll show you an example of that. Oh, stepped on my pedal. You know how many times a day I do that. See this, let me get my light hopefully I can show this properly. Here's that shelf. See that right there? We remove all this in the cylinder. And there's that. If I could just get that where you see it nice, I'd be just so much happier. But I can now. See, that's the path that the air and fuel has to get up through there. It's kind of a rough path, isn't it? Okay, so this was just a mock-up. This is the same exact cylinder as far as brand and before we altered it. Here's the stock transfers and everything stock. This is what you get. Okay, so what we're doing, actually, is we're turning it. When that's flowed, we're turning that into something different, aren't we? See that? Now, I'll show you how to do all that. That's a lot nicer path, isn't it? It is, too. Boy, them are nice big uppers, aren't they, for upper transfers? So that air doesn't have to fight near as bad to get there. So, it's kind of just a two-step operation. Don't worry about doing this. This is easy work. Anybody can do this quite simply. They really can. And I'm going to try not to make this a horrible, boring video, but it might be before I'm done. Okay. Now, when I'm cutting my JB Weld, I like a dull tool. See, that's the second time. You can see where I applied my first batch right in here. And then I ground it to start my shape, and I applied more. I know it looks like a 5-year-old kid did that, don't it? But this is not a big deal to do. Let me see if I can get you where you can see what I'm doing here. And it doesn't take a lot of RPMs. This stuff cuts pretty easy, so be careful. I'm not trying to finish anywhere. All I'm trying to do is get my high spots out first. Maybe this would be easier if I move the camera. So I'm getting my shape up here first. Okay, so you can get the idea of what we're doing here. A lot of times what happens is you'll have a little spot that your JB weld didn't quite fill in, or your tool jumps on you or something. Don't even worry about it. Just put a little more in, fill it. This one's got some little fissures in it that I don't want. So I'm going to take the time and go ahead and apply just a little more. I mean, here's where we're at. But, and you can see there's quite a difference there from the stock one. Maybe I can get both of them in the same view. It's quite a difference in there. This is not done, but it's going to be. Well, what happens is, once you get to this point, and you've got this filled in just like you like, and you've actually shaped it like you want, all you're doing is encouraging the air up the transfers with a smoother path. Just a little smoother path. That's all you're doing. And then, what you do is, and now I've already got this one just about done. I'm going to try to find a way to get in there and show you what I do to make sure I match on my cylinder. This is really, really simple. Now, I'm actually not going to grind on it because the view that you have is good, but mine sucks. So I don't want to have a problem here. But what you're doing is, see that little band right there? What you're doing is grinding right in that area so that you can blend that right to your cylinder. See that? That's blended to the cylinder. Leave a little bit of a hook right here because the crank rotation is in this direction, and you have to have something to try to catch that air. It don't have to be big, nothing like factory, but just leave it. So then this is your primary and this is your secondary. I hope this kind of stuff is fun for you. Now, I've never done this. Any saw you see on Buckin Billy's channel that I've built, none of this has ever been done on them. I've done this for 25 years. At least the chainsaws, at least. Occasionally, you know. And I'll tell you why I'm doing it. You get a habit after a bit of building that you want to get your exhaust higher and higher and intake bigger and bigger and do all these crazy things. Well, what happens is you end up shooting yourself in the foot because all of a sudden the saw goes the other way. When you don't raise your compression, you start exceeding 99, 98 degrees in these 372s, you'll get a screamer, but it won't have any pull, it won't have any torque. And I see a lot of the young channels are falling into that trap. I did the same thing. I learned my lesson. When you're raising your exhaust roof, raise your compression with it, and then you don't lose compression. What you're doing is you're losing the distance from the time that ring closes above the exhaust roof to the top of the cylinder. Every degree you go, it's got that much less room to build compression. So start out with some compression if you want to exceed 99, 98. I'm going to show you this one. I'm going to put this exhaust on this saw at 100 or 101 right in there. I am. And I'm going to run that intake fairly lazy around 152 degrees of total opening instead of 157. That's generally what I build a lot of them at, 156. So because I'm doing that, I need more transfer. And yes, I am raising the compression on it. Not a lot, but enough, just enough. I want a saw that Buckin Billy likes the performance of, but I want reliability, I want the fuel economy, and I want it to really run. I mean, actually pull hard in the cut. This is important to saws. You know, if you're making a living with a chainsaw, you don't want something that rings, zings, and don't have any torque. You don't. So we're building just a little different version of a true logging saw, a true work saw. This is not anything exotic. This is stuff you guys can do at home. But I wish I would have made some videos on a few of them other ones I built for Buckin Billy, of the early ones, because they run good. They run really nice. But we want something a little different with this one. Okay, so what I got to do is I'm going to take this cylinder off, and I'll be yakking at you at the same time. And yeah, everything's filthy. It doesn't matter right now. We're not near assembling. We're still not done grinding, actually. Okay, so you got the idea of that, didn't you? Yep, you sure did. Now if I can do this without dropping anything. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the other cylinder. Same brand, same type, same size cylinder. The highway we get from Ryan at Wolf Creek. These are them new Titanical cylinders. Did I say that right? Pretty shiny. You can always tell them when you get them. This might be a series you want to watch to duplicate this build. Awesome. I love it. Okay, I don't need this one. Okay. Here is the same cylinder. Boy, they're pretty, ain't they? Nice big upper transfers. I haven't tightened one of these yet. This can be a first. But you can see that we've got a fairly high band right here that I cut down. In this case, it was below the deck here. It's below the deck. And here's the transfers. Okay. You can kind of get the idea how far below the deck I went. But you noticing even right there, you can see more light through them transfers. Okay, this bridge, because I went so low, I cut that bridge down right there, halfway down that cylinder. I dropped that bugger right down in. See? That's way down. You have to have a partition just before that it turns in here. Now, if you notice, I concentrated on the angle of the transfer from here to here and from here to here, so that my exhaust or my intake, the primaries hit right here, secondaries try to hit the roof right there. So this is what I'm looking at. I don't think I'm touching anything there. I just like the looks of them as it is, and it's not necessary. We're not getting orangutan, but when you see the differences, there's quite a bit, isn't there? Yeah, there sure is, isn't there? I can't wait to time this saw. I really can't. That's going to be the fun part for me. Okay, we're going to mix just a little more of this stuff up. And just fill a couple little spots. You know, I'll tell you, when you're porting, don't give yourself a peace in your mind. Don't try to hurry. Your tooling doesn't have a very big cut. I know I've said this before, but it doesn't have a very big cut. Just a little cut. You can see that. It won't cut only just so much at a time. And if you're wearing your tooling out fast, you're over speeding it, okay? Yeah. I don't care if you use a Dremel or one of these tools like we got here. Especially with a foot pedal, you have a tendency to really want to just slam right on the gas and just go to town, man. Which isn't really the best thing to do. That's hard on your tooling. But I'm going to tell you another trick. This ain't Windex. This ain't window cleaner. This is Dawn dish liquid and water. I just spray that on my cases every little bit and keep them wet. And it cools your tool down, your bit, or your burr, some of the guys call that. And it also helps keep it clean so aluminum doesn't build up. If aluminum's sticking to it, you're going too fast. You've got too many RPMs. So let me just get where I want. There's nothing precise here, guys. Just don't think there is. It's like I said, this stuff comes off so easy, it ain't even funny. I turn it around so I can get the top. I don't care if you put 10 layers of this stuff on, as long as you get it where you want it. It's, like I said, it's easy to get off. Don't try to do this all in one shot. Just put it in the layers anyway. You'll find out you're better off. Okay, it's nice and gloppy. So I'm going to prop that in a way that it doesn't want to run right off like house paint, okay? So that's just kind of how I'm going to leave that. And it's time to clean up my little squeegee board. Yeah, these Rubbermaid lids for the bowls that I use, they're pretty friggin' sweet, man. They're really good for this. They really are. I just wipe it off, hopefully before it dries. Toss it in my wood stove. A little brake clean. Just a little shot, don't take much. Now clean it off. Isn't that better than freaking using a piece of cardboard? I do that all the time, but the other day I tried one of these lids and I kind of liked it a lot. It worked for me. This is a fun build. Now, this is not over the top, but it will be a runner. This is a contender. This saw isn't a joke. This will be a runner. Hopefully, you guys are gaining something out of this that you really want to see. And we got more to show you. Okay, what's going on? Probably around the end of September, as soon as I get more saws done, we're going to build a 395 for Buckin Billy. But we're going to do it a little different than we normally would. We're going to use a 2100 crank. I'll show you what you got to do to get them cranks in if you want. And we're going big bore, okay? We've talked about this just a little bit. This is the big bore cylinder for them. That's not nothing to mess with, isn't it? Yeah. Boy, they got nice transfers, don't they? Yeah, I like it. Okay. And this is the highway. Titanic Hell from Wolf Creek. Brian sent it to me. And this is the piston that comes with it. It's a pop-up. Well, I'll tell you right now, my experience on bigger saws, when you go big bore, you might want to go flat topping a lot of times. And I'm going to tell you why. You end up getting saddled with a lot of darn depression. But we're going to do something about that. We're going to do something about that. So we're going 2 millimeters longer stroke in it. Okay, 2 millimeters bigger bore. We're going to have 106 cc 395. But it's not plug and play. Now, I'm concerned with that weight of piston. You're getting heavy, especially on a long stroke crank. Okay? Well, here is a Weisco from Dave at CCC. Dave's a good egg. I get him from him. He treats me good, and he'll treat you good too. Now, this is a 58 millimeter with a pop-up. Okay? But it's not for this saw. Guess what it's for? MS 661 steel. I know wrist pin diameter doesn't match up. 394 and 395 have a 13 millimeter wrist pin, okay? They're fairly good size, and that's kind of nice. But we're going to use it with a 12 millimeter. I'm going to show you how to do that right here, right now. When you start changing things around and put stuff where they don't belong, it gets real scary real quick. Okay, here is the bearing I'm going to use. This is a 12 millimeter wrist pin bearing for a steel 066 mag or MS 660. Now, I'm going to turn this camera down, and I'm going to show you just a little bit. Now, I've done this before. I know it works. Okay, that steel bearing fits like a glove right in there. That really fits nice. Okay. Here is the 12 millimeter wrist pin for that piston. Okay, look at that. Isn't that something? Isn't that amazing? It's perfect. It doesn't have any play. It's absolutely perfect. So that lets me take an MS 661 piston, just like this one. That's 58 millimeter. Oh, that's another thing you got to do. I didn't think about telling you this. You got to take your rod, and you got to narrow that on each side just a bit, because the piston itself doesn't actually fit in there yet. You can do it in the piston if you want. If you ever feel more comfortable taking it out of the piston, just take it out of your piston, okay? But that allows that piston to go in there. Okay, here's another problem you got. The pin position is slightly higher. Now, if you notice something, these skirts on the 395, 394 piston are much longer. See that? They're actually much longer. Well, the first thing you're going to do is shoot yourself right in the foot and say, uh-oh, what do I do now? I'm free porting on my exhaust, and my intake timing's kind of long. Well, When you go from 38 to 40 millimeters, what allows me to do this when you do that on your stroke? Okay, so that piston's coming down further and it's going up further. It's 1 millimeter each direction. That's 2 millimeter longer. Okay, well, that's enough to let me not freeport. And I get a shorter skirt, lighter piston to boot. But then the next problem is the piston is going to hit fairly early in a squish band. So I'm going to have to take part of that off on the top. We'll do that right in the lathe. And we'll set our squish with this. I haven't done the math on it. I haven't even figured it out. I'm pretty sure this will work because you're not really taking crap loads off. I mean, you're taking enough. You think about it. Well, a millimeter is what, 39 point something or other thousandths. So by the time you take 90 thousandths off, you're going to be close to that ring. You're going to be close. Let's just see if we still got enough material. And if we do, we're going to run this one. If we find out that was the wrong thing to do, we'll run this one. We'll just fix it up nice and pretty. But we still got to take some of the crown off. But 1 millimeter less for this. Going to be a fun build, really. It's once in a blue moon I build something like this out of a big saw. You don't have to hit huge numbers to get awesome torque and power out of them. And it's just, you can just throw the parts in, do what machining you got to, and you got a real runner. Now, another thing is, you know, I like to put big carbs on some saws I don't. Well, you would naturally think, being a big bore with the flow tricks on the bottom end, that, well, gee, you're probably going to run a 390 carb or bigger. Probably not. We're going to try something. Because I'm not doing wild exhaust numbers or anywhere's out of the realm of good numbers for an intake, we're going to try to run this saw on an HD6 Walboro or an HD12. It depends on which one I got my hands on first, which is the factory carburetor for 372. And if I start pushing intake and exhaust numbers, I need a bigger carb. It's just a whole nother train wreck we're going to do. This is going to be a high RPM torque saw. It is. That's what we're looking for. This is why we're doing the transfers. And let's see what it does. Because when we get it built, we got to build a key to the bush muffler, put it on, run it in some wood, test it. I got to try to find everything that'll go wrong right here first, because these saws, I swear, sometimes when you send them to Buck and Billy, they go stale during shipment. Yeah, there's a gremlin in the box. And he'll talk to you and, hey, what's going on with this? I don't know. I cut 2-3 loads of wood and never had any trouble with it. But by the time it gets the bucket there, so you run them. You run them like you stole them. And you pick them apart. Saws aren't always right up front easy. They're not. When you get them built, they can be nice to build, but you'll have issues trying to get them started, to get them idle, get them to run right. You may think you got an air leak and you got something else going on. That kind of thing. Anytime you disturb an engine and its components, add new components to it, is a rebuild, freshen up, whatever you want to. All them metals have to get to know each other all over again. You got strange things going on there. And everything is happening so fast in your chainsaw that it's ridiculous. You know, it really is. So you just work through your troubles. Most things are just pure mechanical something. Fuel line collapsing, fuel filter, coil acting up. I had one spark plug around here that was a brand new plug. If you looked at it, under a magnifying glass, it had a hairline crack in a porcelain. Brand new. I had that around here last year, and I'd look at it, and I'm getting ready to start a saw. You get in a hurry, dump your gas and oil in, find that plug, put it in. Start right up like $1 million. Sound like you're revving out of bed, sound good. The minute you start getting serious, plug gets a little more heat into it, starts breaking up, and darn near quit. And Oh, it was terrible. And I did that on 3 saws with that same plug that give me fits. And I wasn't smart enough at the time to just throw the darn thing away. And I finally did. I threw it away. So don't think you're the only one that has trouble. I have trouble with saws all the time. You just have to work them out. If you have questions, leave it in the comments. If it's something more than I can handle in the comments, I'll I'll send you my email info. Email me. We'll talk, and I'll see if I can help you. I'm getting where I'm answering a little more comments, and I'm doing more with the emails. I'm still having trouble getting some emails, guys. I want you to know that. I'm not sure what to do about it. Was since I got this new phone, uh, I'm having trouble with emails. Okay, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.